we're going to be making a 3D diorama shadow box card, plus a gift box to give it in. So I'm going to show you the version that I already made, and then we're going to make one together, including the box. We're going to be using the Poppy Garden pattern paper from Paper Rose Studio, along with the Embossed Die Cuts. And I pulled the sentiments from the Bright Days Ahead Sentiments Embossed Die Cut apart. And then we're going to be using this die set as well. This is the nested label 2 metal dies from Paper Rose Studio. So we're going to go over what we're going to need. Well, let me show you the project first. Here's the box we're going to be making to hold our 3D diorama card, shadow box card. We're going to take our lid off. Here is our our card. It's an A2 size. It does stand up on its own. So that is here's a closer look at that's what we're going to be making today, a version of it. So it's not one that you would mail. It's definitely one that you would hand present, which is why I made a box for it to share with y'all. So there's our box. Let me move that. We'll go over the parts and pieces you're going to need for the card. First off, you're going to need an A2 top folding card base. I'm using our pre-cut white card bases from Paper Rose Studio. The one I picked out. I've got some basic white cardstock as well. And we're going to be doing all this together. So our first piece, they pull up the scoreboard, is a piece of basic white cut at 5.5 by 5 3/4. That is our inside layer of our shadow box. So we are going to score this at 1/4 inch and at 3/4 of an inch. And then we're going to move and go to 5 and 5.5. All right, so there are those score lines. I'm going to go ahead and fold and burnish those. Burnish this, get that nice little crease there. I'm going to re-burnish those in a little while as well. So I'm going to set that to the side. All right, our second layer, which is the second layer of the inside, is actually 5.5 by 6 3/4. And we're going to score it at 1/2 inch, 1 1/4 inches, 5.5 inches, and 6 1/4 inches. So again, that's 1/2 inch, 1 1/4, 5.5 inches, and 6 1/4 inches. Get all those folded and burnished. I'll stick this back on so I remember which is which. And then our last one, which is going to be the front of our shadow box card, is 7 1/4 by 5.5. And on the 7 1/4 inch side, we're going to score at 1.5 inches. Or I'm sorry, 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches, 5 3/4 inches, and 6 3/4 inches. So again, that's 1/2 inch, 1.5 inches, 5 3/4 inches, and 6 3/4 inches. Now, I have already picked out my pieces of pattern paper. You're going to need 4. I've cut them at 4 by 5 1/4. This is going to go on our front layer here. So we will go ahead and attach that. So we will add our liquid glue to this piece. And I will attach this on the center panel. Just like so. Make sure you have an even margin all the way around. So that is our layer 1. Our layer 2, I'm going to switch to a slightly more subtle pattern. I chose the ones with the little insects here. So I'm going to attach this. So we'll add that. And the little score line that I messed up over there, you're never going to see it, so it's not going to be a big deal. And then this will be our third panel. And we're going to center that as well. It's more of a bold pattern where it's going to be stand out. There's that. I also need to cut 2 pieces that are 5 1/4 by 3/4 inches. I'll just cut these off of this. I totally forgot about those for the outside layer while I was cutting. So we will go ahead and attach those 2 to our layer here. This one we're going to save. I'll show you how we're going to attach that in a little bit. But we'll go ahead and attach these 2. Measure twice, cut once. I should really follow that sometimes, y'all. All right, so there is that one. Here is our next little layer. It's going to go on the other 1-inch section over here on the side. These are totally optional. I just thought it added a little bit more to the card. So there's that. All right, now we need our die cuts. Because what we are going to do is we're going to layer this in the center of each. We're going to layer 1 of each panel. This really works well with nesting dies, so, which is why I chose this particular set, was because it was a nesting die set, so that it makes it super easy for our diorama shadow box effect. And try to get that in the center. You want all of them to kind of line up in the center of your windows. All right, I'm going to cut these out. I'm going to pull in the die. I'm going to go cut these out on the die cutting machine, and I'll be right back. All right, I've got all of our windows cut on all 3 pieces, and we are going to start building our card. We're going to save these. You do want to save those because you're going to use these for the front of your box. All right, we're going to take, and I've got a piece of pattern paper we're going to put on the inside of our card. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. Right there. That's going to be our other panel. So we're going to go ahead and take our layers, and we're going to start with the largest one. All right, so on this first little score line right here, we're actually going to add, with our second layer, we're going to add adhesive along this edge. Make sure that they are lined up and go in the right direction, unlike me. So we will do this side first. I'm going to layer these together. Make sure they're lined up at the top and bottom and right at that score line. So I'm just going to line that up. And then I can attach these together. You just want to make sure they're right at that score line, not going past it. just like that, okay? And we're going to do one side at a time. So we will do our next side, this side next. And I did adjust this one slightly compared to the other one so that it set back a little bit further. We're going to do it just the same though. I'm going to line my edge up right to that score line. And that way, it helps make the ledges. Now, we're also going to add, we're going to go ahead and secure this one into here as well. So I'm going to add liquid glue there. And then I can secure that into place. Just like so. And then I will do the same thing for this one. Just gonna set it down. This is what we should have so far. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and do our other side. I'm going to start with this larger tab. I'm going to bring this up and I will line them up right to each score line. Start with that smaller score line. It's going to get lined up, and then I can bring that up and secure it. Just like so. And then I'll do the same thing for the other side. Bring this up to that little score line right there, that very first score line. That's where this is going to go. So secure that in. There's our part of our product. I'm going to add this just to the card base. That would be the easiest. We'll add that in the center of our card base. Make sure you have your margins on there. Then I will add more liquid glue. You could use tape runner. You just want a nice, strong adhesive. We're going to take and I'll pick this up. I'm going to push these together. Making sure that the edges line up along with the top and bottom. So you want your sides to be the exact same on both sides. I'm going to take my bone folder, press it into place there. So there is our shadow box card that stands up all on its own, tilted back. It's a nice display card. Now we're going to decorate it before we work on our gift box for it. All right, we're going to take and we're going to add this little bicycle to the inside. I just thought that would be kind of cute back there. So I'm just going to add liquid glue. And I'm going to take and kind of come up from the back where that can be right in there. Hold it up where I can see. So there's that part. And then I've got a little butterfly that I'm going to add to our next little tier right in here. And then my next one, I'm going to do these little poppies, which, by the way, poppies are one of my favorite flowers. And I'm going to move this over to this side and kind of tuck it down just a little bit so we can see inside. And then for my outside, I'm going to use the little puppy here just because I thought he was adorable. There's other cute critters in there. I just thought he was extra sweet. So I'm going to add him. And notice I'm not only adding adhesive where the parts are going to touch the outside of each layer. So that's something you want to be aware of. I did go ahead and cut my sentiments. And we could do congratulations on this or on the box. I think I'm going to do time to celebrate. And I'm actually going to cut this apart a little. I want it to be in 2 pieces. And you could add some thin foam strips to this if you wanted to. I'm just going to keep it flat. Just to add a little bit more. We could went across the top as well. And I actually have time, I could actually change that. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then I'll clean that glue off once it's dry. Yeah, that's our little visual triangle or visual line right there. So that works great. All right, let's do our box. All right, I have a piece of pattern paper for the outside of the box. It's 3 3/4 by 5 with a charcoal black mat that is a 1/8 of an inch larger. So it's 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So I can go ahead and add that. To my mat layer here. And I chose not to decorate the sides of the box. All right, we have a piece of basic white cardstock that is cut a little bit, just a smidge bigger than 7.5 by 8 3/4. I added just a 1/16 of an inch. And then I have a 7.5 by 8 3/4 piece of the charcoal black cardstock. That's going to be for my bottom. We're going to go ahead and do the top first. Let me pull in the scoreboard. I'm going to go at 1.5 inches on all 4 sides. So we're going to 1.5, 1.5, 1.5, and 1.5. And we're also going to do that same thing on our bottom piece. It's 1.5 on all 4 sides. And we're going to go ahead and fold and burnish all of our score lines on both pieces. Here's our bottom, our top. And then I'm going to cut up my score lines. Like so. And then I'm going to give a little wedge right there and a little wedge on this side of each of those flaps. We'll do the same thing to our other side. It's just a super easy little box that's going to make for a nice presentation. All right, we'll go ahead and cut up the other one as well. And let me go ahead and tell you, whichever way, if you go this way or this way or that way, Doesn't matter. Just make sure whichever way you cut on those score lines, it's the same on all 4 sides. So if you start over here, make sure you stick on those, on the longer, on this side. Otherwise, it doesn't work out as well. So go ahead and finish this up. Right there. Wedges. All right, and so we're just going to attach these with our liquid glue. Again, if you wanted to use dry adhesive, you could. I prefer using my liquid glue because it gives me just that little bit of extra little time that I can make sure all these corners are nice and squared. Do that one. I'll move to this side over here. Just make sure that corner's nice and squared. Same thing on this side. All right, so there is the bottom of our box. Our card fits right inside. So we'll go ahead and do our top. Making sure our corners are nice and squared on both sides. I like to use that liquid glue. So that I can get everything nice and lined up. All right, now I'm gonna take a 1/2 inch circle punch and I'm gonna punch in about halfway, and it can be on either side to have some little notches. I can slide this right on. Our little box. And we'll go ahead and add our paper to the front that we've matted. Our little decorative part on the box. Now, I told y'all to keep these. We're going to use these as a tag. So we will take and layer our 3 pieces together. And that way it gives you kind of a hint of what will be on the inside. You just want to make sure everything's nice and lined up. Have our little poppy paper right there. And then I'm going to add this with some foam squares to the box. So I'll peel these backings off. And we will add our little tag. And then I've got one of the little embossed die cuts as well. We're going to add that. And I think I'm going to pop my little ladybug up. So I'm going to add that about right in there. And then I can add my sentiment for the outside. Congratulations. Now I'm going to pick some ribbon out of my stash to add to the top of this. So in the finished photos, you're going to see bow on the top of our tag here. So that'll be in the finished photo because I'm not quite sure what ribbon I want to use yet. All right, so there is a look at our box. Here's our look at our shadow box card. I hope you like this video. If you do, I will give it a thumbs up. And I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys. Stay crafty. Love you.